Well, do you know what? Greetings and salutations, everybody. I hope you're all keeping well. And can you believe it? Another week has gone by so quickly. So, welcome to everybody on LinkedIn and my YouTube channel to the Newpreneur cast. This is my weekly show to really get to the opportunity to meet some great connections, open up the conversation even further, to find out about each other, which is really important. And today, or this week, I've got a guest who's going to come along. Now, I do pre-warn you, we will try and keep the Geordiness to a bare minimum as much as we can. But again, if we do get carried away and we go into the flow with it, we'll try and put subtitles on the screen for everybody as well, so you can understand what we're saying at some point anyway. But we're very clear. We're called posh Geordies because we're from the northeast coast, so we're okay on that side of it. Respectfully to every other Geordie in the nation across that area. So today, this week, when you look to expand your team, there's a lot that goes into it. And when you're looking at designing and building a culture in your business, it's important to find out who comes into that team and also who you are as a leader. Now, me and my guest today, we've chatted about this a lot, and I want the opportunity to discuss that with him. And I'm going to be introducing you to him, who's got a wealth of experience with over 30 years in leadership and beyond. He knows what he's talking about. Does some great videos on TikTok, sharing some great content on social media. And it's a great pleasure that I met him a few months back in Edinburgh at a speaking evening for the Professional Speaking Association. And we got a house on fire when we found out we had some mutual connections and we're from the same hometown, in fairness, which is quite interesting. So can you please welcome with me this week for the Newpreneur cast, the one and only, Mr. Glenn Smith of Gherkin Leadership. Glenn, how are you?
I'm good, Lee. You?
I'm very well, man. Very well indeed. See, automatically just went into that straight away. Can't be helped. Very good indeed.
I tell you what, though, you're clearly a posher Geordie than me. I mean, look what you're wearing today compared to me in a black T-shirt.
I've just literally got in about a half an hour, 40 minutes ago, just from hosting a meeting in Stirling. So that's probably why I'm still wearing my shirt and tie. I'm wearing shorts. No, I'm not wearing shorts. I'm fine. But
rolled up as well, mate.
I've got the sleeves rolled up. I'm ready to do business. I'm ready to roll them up. So it's all ready to go. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me this week for the Newpreneur cast. Do appreciate it.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
So let's keep our conversation going. And this week we're talking about team dynamics, talking about team expansion. First of all, if everybody's watching and listening, tell us a bit about your background. What got you involved in leadership and what you're doing now with Gherkin, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Well, it's I've been working. I can't believe how long I've been working. I mean, you said 30 years. I started my first job when I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. It was a part-time job. But I left school at 16, and that's when I started my first proper full-time job. Found myself very quickly, building relationships with people. I went from installing fire alarms to then being asked to project manage teams of guys installing fire alarms. And because I got on well with the customers when I was out and about on site, I found myself, I wouldn't say pushed into sales, but I just kind of moved into sales. It just happened naturally. And for me, leadership it's whenever we've got influence over anybody else, every interaction we have with every other human being, we're leading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what leadership's all about. So you don't have to be a boss, you don't have to be a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably my biggest job as a leader is a parent, my daughter. Leadership's been around me for a lot of years, but I worked in corporate. I worked in the Anglian Water Group for 20 years. And in 2018, I met somebody in the Gherkin, hence the name of the company. And it was a meeting that was going to change my life. And I just discovered some new things out about my own leadership style that, well, I'll be open and honest about. I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
I found out I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And leadership, it's not about changing other people. It starts with us. It's about changing ourselves. And I had as a result of this meeting in the Gherkin, I then signed up to do a personal leadership course. and I discovered a whole host of new things about myself.
Mm.
And yeah, from there in 2020, I set up Gherkin Associates to deliver what I now think is one of the best leadership programs in the world. And with what I bring to that is the personal experience of having worked in a proper job
Mm.
for 36 plus years.
Do you know what's again? I'm going to reverse back there slightly, right? So you mentioned 2020.
Yeah.
Now, certain things happened in 2020 that we both know of. So how did that affect you? Because you started a business or started to work for yourself in the time that we're going into a lockdown. What was like for you, Glenn, on that occasion?
Yeah, I was very fortunate insofar as the program that I delivered, the Living Leader, they'd won a contract with a large company, a global organization. I mean, they work globally. 80,000 people have been through this program around the world. And this was for a big client in America. And they really wanted to make a difference. And they knew that during COVID, they wanted to continue developing their people.
Mm.
So the Living Leader um, found a way of doing it virtually and asked me if I would run some of the very first programs they did online. So we worked with delegates over an 11-week period. There were some videos produced which were sent to them in advance, and I would join them on a live session once a week for 90 minutes to talk and discuss leadership stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at one point, I was probably running 3 or 4 of them a week.
Wow.
So it was really, that got me going. And then when COVID kind of came to well, it's not at an end, is it? It's still bubbling along.
Still
But
there.
when we were all back in our workplaces and back to work as face to face, there was a kind of like a pent up demand for the face to face stuff again. So all that just really took off, and it took me
Mm.
around the world. It's been fantastic. Loved it.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing. Apologies, everybody. I had a technical issue. That's why I got up my chair to try and turn something on. It was just getting a bit sporadic, the background on the technology wise. The art of being live, by the way, Glenn.
Indeed.
The art of being live. No, I think it's interesting when you think about the way we've actually embraced, we're leading from the front and the way you adapted yourself back then to work in a virtual world. I think we all had to embrace that. I still, I agree with you, we're still living in that type of world at the moment, which still has to be used, really, like we're doing now, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life throws you lemons, doesn't it?
Does indeed.
And it's how you deal with those lemons that count. Do you view something positively? Do you bury your head in the sand? Do you see something negative or do you choose to make positive choices to make the best out of things?
Yeah.
And certainly I saw it as that. It was a great opportunity and something that I'll often say this, Lee.
Mhm.
I'll say to people, I love my job. Okay. And then I'll ask people to imagine if you'd asked me, do I love my wife? And I replied, yeah, I like her a lot. Yeah. I love my wife and I love my job. So
Yeah.
that just puts it into context how lucky I am to have discovered these things back in that great meeting in 2018, which
Yeah.
got me onto this leadership journey.
Do you know what? Again, it's another part that I've looked at as well. Is there's nothing we can really do about the past in that respect. You can only really cause effect to what's happened to you right now and going forward. I think it's actually you address what's happened at the time in regards to the likes of going online, etc. as well. And you're going, okay, this is what I've got to play with. Okay, what can I do to effectively do something now in my present and effectively make an impression for my future in the front? And that was just what we did back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I bet if you look back and think about some of the times where you've messed up in life,
Mm,
they're
mm,
probably been catalysts for you to do things differently and with a different view next time. And maybe next time you approach something,
totally.
you get a better result. I'm a great believer in that. I've messed up an awful lot along the way, but I wouldn't be sat here today doing what I'm doing if I hadn't had those learnings. And when
Yeah.
you embrace them and let them, you know, when you lean into them and look at them from a way of how am I going to get the best from these learnings,
Mhm.
it's the only way to be.
Oh, it is. I totally agree with you. You have to embrace it. You have to learn from it. You have to move forward from it. And especially in business more than ever before, I don't class as a failure, I just class as a learning. And I think if you're not trying something different all the time and learning from it, that makes you stronger and it makes you better every single time you do it. It's a bit like going to the Gherkin and having that opportunity that created the name for the business for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, that's what took you down that path, that crossroads to be where you are right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and you've got to go with it. I mean, I've kind of had three different careers, if you like. So
uh-huh.
I worked in the fire detection industry, you know, installer into sales, and then I worked in a business development, sales, account management role. I ran some fairly big teams in account management,
Yeah.
in the utility space, and now I've taken my learnings from both of those things right into what I do these days with helping people and businesses grow.
Mm. What's your thoughts on culture? Do you think if it's a solopreneur working on that, and just delve into this a little bit further for you. So, the environments that you've worked in that time, has every culture been different that you've dealt with?
That I think the culture is the DNA of the company,
Okay.
and it's for me, it's almost impossible to copy.
Yeah.
It's dead easy to mess it up and get a culture which isn't great. Quite difficult to get a really great culture. But
Hmm.
once you've got it, boy, that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
It really does. What one of the things that I'll always remember, um, I bought a car for my daughter from a company. Well, I'll not name them just in case there's any
I'll probably know who they were.
issues with that. Well, it was a new way of buying buying a car. High resolution images. It turned up at the house on the back of an enclosed trailer, and it was magnificent. It was a 4-year-old car, but it was spotless. It was like new.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, this is a great business model. 2 weeks later, I saw a new company, a competitor of theirs that had launched, doing exactly the same thing. I think that's a key thing in business, I reckon, is that your product and service is copyable,
Yeah.
probably more so than ever before now. But
Hmm.
what's really difficult to copy is a good culture. And get your culture right, you know, one where people want to come and work for you. People come in and roll their sleeves up like you have today, and they want to go above and beyond for you and your business. That's what a great culture can do. It's good for them as individuals because they're being stretched, they're growing, they find it interesting, they're getting appreciated for what they're doing. It's great for your business because all that feeds down to bottom line performance.
Do you not think though that the culture is designed from the person who's created it and who leads it, and that ambience, that energy that comes from that individual, that group who set it up, that sort of like the wave that sort of flows through the whole of the company or that sort of organization, would you say?
Yeah, you've got that cascade effect.
Right.
And I go into companies where I work with teams of managers, heads of, and sometimes the leadership team haven't been through the same program,
Mm.
and it's a little bit more challenging sometimes for those organizations because the people I'm often dealing with, they'll buy into the principles that I'm teaching them, but they'll often say that the culture of the organization and the people above them don't necessarily live and breathe those things.
Hmm.
And just what I mean by that is that because it can happen accidentally. Um, have you ever been micromanaged before?
Yes.
And the person that did that to you, well, how did you feel when you were micromanaged?
I did. Do you know that I didn't actually notice it at first until afterwards? When
Right.
someone had noticed it that it was going, they've been affected by it. I never noticed it. Then once they've been shown to me, then I went, yeah, actually, I can understand where that's coming from now.
Because a lot of people, when they're micromanaged, they feel that there's kind of undue pressure on them.
Yeah.
A pair of eyes uh, over the back of them, controlling them, sending them a message that we don't really trust you, that you're not creative to come up with your own ideas. So we're going to check you doing everything, exactly as it should be done. And sometimes the leader who's doing that is doing it because they really care about the business success. They want to make sure that everything's being done the best way possible. And they do it with the best of intentions. But when they end up micromanaging people, it stifles their performance.
Yeah.
It controls them. It's one of the causes of burnout. It's bloody tiring when you micromanage. It really
Yeah.
is, and it sends the wrong messages. So you're right. Culture's set from the. What I was trying to explain there is it's set from the top. It can be a challenge when you don't start at the top to cascade this stuff down. Doesn't mean it's impossible to do it, because personal leadership's about our influence. Each and every one of us can influence the people around us. So you can lead up and lead down. It's not impossible to start in the middle of an organization to change the culture, but it's easier if you get the right culture from the top and that cascades down.
Yeah. I think also right as well, when you look at the micromanagement side and look at that culture of that business or that team, I think somebody's just taken the wrong way, whereas a manager, a leader is just really trying to get things right for their company, for their department, for their team. And sometimes it's taken the wrong way. And I'm being quite controversial here, because they're just, like you're saying before, they're really involved in doing the best job they can. And to bring, if you look at it from a sales perspective, they're trying to bring their sales team up to the next level. But sometimes it can just tipple over slightly and you go, oh, I didn't mean it to come across that way, and it gets taken the wrong way.
Well, can I give you an example? Because I think you're exactly right. I'll give you an
Go on.
example. And this often happens in companies. The best companies promote from within.
Yeah.
So you've got someone, let's say sales, both of you and I have been in a sales background. You've got a great salesperson, and after a period of high performance, they may get promoted to be the sales team manager. What a lot of businesses do, they make the assumption that that good salesman is going to be a good sales team manager. Yeah, not always the case. And I've told you I've messed up a few ways along the way. That happened. I did that when that happened to me. So I was a successful salesman, got promoted to a sales team manager, and I had geographical territory, a big geographical territory, M62 North. And I would know, and I'd have it mapped out, who I was going to be seeing, when I was going to be seeing it, and what about. Was it new growth? Was it retention? So I would cover my geographical patch so that everybody felt the love and got seen regularly. Now, within about, I reckon, 2 weeks of me becoming the sales team manager, bearing in mind these were the guys and girls that I worked alongside as my peers the couple of weeks beforehand, I put that my territory plan in place as a process. And I said to them, I want you to use this to manage your territories. Because it got success. It was, it was a great territory plan. That's one of the reasons I got promoted. So I put that in place to my team. What message do you think I sent them when I gave them that?
I'm actually thinking the other way here. I'm thinking controlling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see it why you did it for, because believe it or not, we're come from the same page. You know that really, Glenn. It's quite I did the similar sort of thing, but it was sort of like, I like to do a 12-month plan and set out a territory plan. That was shown to me by one of my general managers as well. And it's funny where you look at it, people take it differently. And I bet that changed the dynamic of the team.
Well, yeah, because what I was actually telling them is, I don't think you're clever enough or intelligent enough or creative enough, whatever, to be able to manage your territories effectively on your own. You actually need me to help you do your job.
Yeah.
And that, so that, almost teaching them not to have to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. If customer coverage had gone pear-shaped, where would the responsibility of that sat?
You.
Exactly. With me. Wouldn't have sat with them, the sales team who are responsible for covering their customers. It would have sat with me. So it's these little subtle things that we do because we care that the recipient of our care, they don't say it like that. And it's exactly the same as verbal communication is exactly the same.
Yeah.
When we are keen to give our advice, our ideas, tell somebody what we think they should do, we're actually disempowering them to be able to think for themselves.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point to bring up on that one. And there's this trust element to it as well, Glenn. It's the element of the trust in what you have in them or they have in you. in going forward. That's such a good point there, Glenn. It really has.
Can I ask you another question?
Go on then.
So if you're my, you're on my team and I've given you that territory plan, let me test my understanding of what you're saying. Are you saying that if I were to do something like that, you would trust me less?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at it from my perspective of thinking that you've took a vested interest in helping me out in my territory. But I can understand what other people think in that you're trying to control and watch what I'm doing, like Big Brother.
Yeah.
But
And that's
what you've been to, you see.
And that's the thing. Some may not. But if
True.
you agree that some may, it may send a message that Glenn doesn't trust me to run my territory. He's given me this plan because he doesn't think I can do it myself.
Mm.
If they think I don't trust them, or I don't think they're creative, or they don't want to take responsibility, how likely do you think they're going to be to show me trust, or take responsibility, or uh, give me their thoughts and their ideas when I don't perhaps think they're creative enough to do it for themselves?
Yeah.
It's highly unlikely.
It's very, very unlikely how that works like that way, Glenn, I think, as well. And I think it's, unfortunately, there's many cultures that are like that, that have that sort of, I don't know what I'm thinking of here, that sort of element that happens and they have to try and deal with it. And it causes a different dynamic within the team and the company structure. Because also there's a lot of people that come into something like that who haven't ran a team before, who are good at being sales or perceived as a good leader, and then they get dropped into a management role and they have to adapt that because they've never dealt with people before. They're a good salesperson,
Yeah.
but then they have to change their dynamic.
Yeah. When you become that sales team manager, it can't always be about your thoughts, your ideas.
No.
Because if it is, one thing is for sure, your people are going to feel demotivated because they're not going to feel involved. The job's not going to be that interesting. You're not stretching them because you're spoon feeding them all the time. So that's not going to be great for them. Where else was I going with that? It'll come back. It'll come back to me. It just, you're not going to motivate them to go above and beyond, and
Yeah.
your workload. That's where I was going. Your workload over time, if they think they can come to you for all the answers, and you think that's your job and you provide it, they're just going to come to you all the time. Your workload's just going to go bump, 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 bump.
You're not giving them responsibility. And again, it's that trust level, it's that responsibility that I'm giving you the dynamics, I'm giving you the tools to work with. Now I'm trusting you to go out there and deliver what you need, but also I want you. We talk about this open door policy for many, many years. You talk that way. It's like, listen, I'm always available if you need to ask questions. If you need any help, assistance, support, guidance, whatever you need, just let us know. But you also just want to let them get on with developing their own territory with the key characters that you want for them to deliver from there as well.
Oh, that's dead interesting, that though, as well though. So if you're the kind of gaffer, the boss or leader that kind of gives your answers and your thoughts and your ideas all the time, because you're the senior person, if it's always about you and your thoughts, and you start to ask people, well, what do you think? They're a lot less likely to input. You ask someone for some feedback, particularly if you've put things in place. Let's say that you are inadvertently micromanaging, or you've put things in place for people to work in a certain way, your way, and then all of a sudden you ask, and you send them a message that you don't trust them, and all of a sudden you ask for feedback.
Changes,
how good's the quality of that feedback going to be?
Aye, true. Would they tell you the truth or not?
Or just blow smoke at you?
Or blow smoke. I agree.
Yeah. I might tell you what you think. They might tell you what they think you want to hear.
Aye. They just put a smoke screen in front of you. They just tell you what's going to happen, what they think is happening, but they're not actually telling you what's actually happening out there as well. So here's the thing for yourself then, in regards of looking at when you look to hire people who are in the same sort of thought process where you are at the minute and the right person for the job, hiring for values, what does that mean to you?
For me, a big part of hiring, try and get beyond the kind of skill set into the who the person is, and you've really got to get a feel for, is this person, are they going to have the same kind of values? One where, they're not going to turn around and say that, I'm a 9 to 5. It's all about the boss's ideas. I just want to come in and do what they tell me. You want to bring people in who are willing and wanting to put their thoughts, their ideas, their voice across. So if you can tease that out in the interview process. I remember just quickly one interview that was going on. It was being done by one of my heads of, and they came back to me and said, technically, this person's brilliant. They could really, really do the job. But I actually think, they're so keen. They're very, what's the word? They articulated how they would go about it really clearly. They're clearly very passionate, very driven. I think they'd want my job within 6 months. So I'm not so sure. I said, that's exactly the type of person we want. Go and get them. So it's not just being able to do the job, it's beyond that. What do they want from the role? What are they going to bring to the organization that is outside of the organization? You want their ideas, their involvement, them to challenge.
Driven.
You don't want a team of yes women or yes men around you. You want difference, you want diversity, you want inclusion, you want different thoughts and ideas. That's what gets success.
Of course it does. And it shows a good team dynamic as well, I think, when it comes from that. Really important on that one. Yeah. Listen, everybody, if you're watching and listening to this on LinkedIn now, or on the YouTube channel, which is at Lee Foster Official, don't forget to subscribe to the channel on the YouTube, which is Lee Foster Official. But also on LinkedIn, if you're watching this now on LinkedIn and it's live, and you're watching in the feed, in the comments below, just drop in any questions or any feedback you got from me and Glenn. Just make sure you drop that in there. Or drop it in the YouTube later on if you want to, and we can get back to that as soon as we can, possibly. So please don't forget to share any questions or any feedback you got for Glenn and myself today, if you don't mind. I just think it's an interesting fact that you mentioned there before, Glenn, about building that type of. So have you worked with sort of individuals, and have you worked with larger teams, like anything from like 30 plus?
Yeah. So when I run my programs, I work with a maximum group size of 10.
Okay.
But I've worked in organizations where they have, 20,000 employees.
Wow.
And they'll get 25, 30% of their population through the program. The way we do that is a lot of what we talk about is how do people take responsibility themselves. So when we get into a large organization, what we do is we train their people to deliver the personal leadership program that I deliver.
Oh,
I'll go in and do or another associate will go in and do a sample of not a sample, but a number of sessions. Might be 10, it might be 20, it might only be 3 or 4. And then the organization train their own people to deliver it. That's taking responsibility for change within an organization.
That's really interesting, and especially the way you got into it as well. But I guess, how do you get business that comes through? Is it word of mouth? Is it just by delivering what you've been delivering? It's just best case scenario, people sharing the great quality that you're giving to them right now?
There's a bit of that, yes. So a big part of it is when I run a program. So part of my business development budget has been to run some programs in Newcastle, and I have had some fully sponsored places where I'll sponsor people to come and sit on that program. And there's been a number of organizations who've come on that sponsored place, loved it so much they've now taken it back into their company, and they're rolling out in their organizations. But the other thing, Lee, is networking. What you do, the importance of networking has become, it's increasingly more important for me, I think. I'm keen to develop what I do further so I can run more programs to inspire more people. If I can get people to see and learn about leadership, about it being them, it's about them and how they choose to be. If I can inspire people to do that, the more the merrier. I'm also very lucky though, and I have to pay tribute to the Living Leader, because they employ me as one of their associates to run that program on their behalf. So I wouldn't be where I am today without them for A, being a delegate on their program,
Yeah.
but B, them bringing me in to run their programs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've got a number of Northeast programs in the pipeline, which is really pleasing.
Nice one. And where would they find the information for Living Leader? Because they find that on your website, which you're advertising on the ticker tape below there.
Yes. So if they go to the Gherkin Associates website, you'll find a little bit about my journey on there, but also what personal leadership is about and how I genuinely believe that it is the catalyst for people to really be able to thrive in life, and that feeds all the way through to businesses performing really, really well.
Mm-hmm. And you've traveled all over the place. You're not just in Newcastle, you do travel across the whole country as well.
I do. Yes. Last week I was in sunny Bracknell, and it was very sunny. It was 34 degrees. I was in Birmingham. Last year I was in large parts of America, Brazil, Australia. So it really is a global program. As I say, over 80,000 people have been through it now. It's a remarkable program.
Love that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And how can people who are watching and listening today, is it the best way of connect with you on LinkedIn? Just go on your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I publish stuff regularly. I do that under the Gherkin banner, but I also do a lot of stuff under the Glenn Smith personal profile. So if someone were to hit the follow button, if anyone DMs me or puts a comment, I'll reach out and connect. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone's enjoyed listening today. I mean, I just want to say a massive thank you, really, Glenn, for just spending your time with me this afternoon. And we could talk for hours. We could keep going even further on that one. But for everybody who's watching and listening tonight, I would highly recommend, if you get the chance, please reach out to Glenn, organize a connection, book in a one-to-one meeting, have a virtual cup of coffee. Or if you're down in Newcastle, reach out to Glenn. No doubt you'll get your cup of coffee or something and have a chat face to face, because we can't do that this day and age. Networking is about starting the conversation, delving into it a little bit further, and looking at a long-term opportunity that you can actually develop between each other. And we've shared some things today, really. If you're re-watching this back again, please reach out to us separately. If you want to send us a direct message, please do so. But Glenn, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Do appreciate it. Thank you.
Lee, I've loved it. Great to meet a fellow posh Geordie.
For sure. Aye, because I'm wearing a shirt and tie for a change normally. So that's all it is. I had my hair brushed today. It's probably what it is. Brushed my hair and had a shave.
Nice one.
Yeah,
Well, can I share one last thing?
Of course you can.
Because I know you do a lot with small businesses looking to grow.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to talk to me about that, when it's your baby, it's your business, and you need to let go, that can be a real challenge, bringing people into your business. So happy to help anybody who's working through that challenge as well. Just drop me a DM or reach out to me on LinkedIn.
That's another point we could actually talk about now, because there's many people out there now, Glenn, before we wrap things up as well, is that they're probably going through a stage in their business that they've been working for themselves for a long time. And now it comes that they're bringing someone else in to look after their own baby. I think that's such a massive point there. So, because
that's pretty tough. That's tough for people.
That is tough, because when you mentioned, actually, let's just briefly, right? So many people out there, it's like the umbilical cord I heard about today. It's actually putting the responsibility on somebody else. And would you mind me saying this? It's like putting the reputation in their hands of you, which is a bit what a living leader's done for you, that you're putting their responsibility, their reputation in your hands to deliver that on their behalf, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a license, and we get feedback regularly after all the programs, but that's exactly what they've done. They've trusted me. But for small business owners, and this is the thing, we've been talking about how much people care.
Yeah, true.
And when you really care, because it's your business, you're much less likely to say, well, can you just do it this way? Or what about doing it that way? Or have you thought about this? And that stifles people being able to take your business to the next level for you. You've got to be able to let go.
Let go. I let go and let it run with it and let them adapt. Just give them the tools and the dynamics, I suppose, the model, the templates, and then just say, right, that's how it works. Just go for it. Put your own stamp on it and make it work. So that's another point. So if you are going through that at the minute and you're watching this now, reach out to Glenn, have a chat about that, because if you're in a stage of taking people on board or working with a team around you, it'd be definitely worthwhile delving into a conversation further with Glenn to find out more about that as well, because that's a massive step, Glenn. It's a huge step that you're doing with that one. Superb. Well, thank you very much to everybody for watching and listening today. Stay tuned for more Newpreneur Cast coming soon. I am running a bit of a special episode called the Business Data episodes. Louisa Stewart, which will be happening tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon as well. So stay tuned for that one. Running that throughout the month of July as well. But there'll be more Newpreneur Cast coming up very shortly. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and it'll keep you up to date when we go live. It'll notify you when we're live on LinkedIn and on the YouTube, which is, again, just a wee reminder, Lee Foster Official, and we can take it from there. But from me and from Glenn, we wish you all the very best, and it's a goodbye.
Thank you for me.
You're welcome. Thanks again, everybody. Take care of you. Take care of yourself.